So here we are today at Goodwood House, the home of the Duke of Richmond. Many of you will know Goodwood obviously for the motor circuit, for events such as the Festival of Speed, Revival and Glorious Goodwood, the racecourse. But some of you may not be aware of the wonderful collection that this house has, and hopefully today we're going to see a little bit more of that collection and how TM Lighting have lit it. So I'm here with James Peill, curator of the Goodwood collection. And James, tell us a little bit about the collection and maybe a little bit about how it grew over the years. And what are the sort of key pieces that in the collection, or pieces that you love in the collection, shall we say?
Well, it was mainly formed by the second and the third Dukes of Richmond, and both those Dukes went on the Grand Tour in the 18th century, and it's been added to with lots of family portraits, as you can see looking around the room here. Well, the highlights are the famous views of London by Canaletto.
Yes.
And they were commissioned by the second Duke of Richmond and show the view from his house in London looking out over Whitehall and the River Thames. And then there's three famous paintings by George Stubbs, who actually came and stayed here as a young man and painted three scenes on the estate. And they're next door to where we're standing.
So James, tell us a little bit about what the needs were for lighting within the house, and why you engaged us to take a look at this for you.
It all started with one picture and how we could light it in a way that was low cost, low maintenance, low heat, but also made the picture look good. And once we'd sort of settled on the right type of light, we then had to work out what it would look like.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was no sort of set model then that we could choose. We had slightly free rein and we were able to choose the hood shape, the neck shape, and the colour of the actual hood itself, which was great. And because we quite quickly came around to the idea of replacing all the picture lights, doing it all in one go was completely out of the question in terms of finance, so we had to phase it over 10 years. And that meant having a picture light that fitted in with the existing ones, so it wasn't immediately obvious that there was a transition going on. What did you find particularly challenging? Because I know we gave you quite a few hoops that you had to jump through.
Yes. Well, I think the brief was fairly concise, which of course makes things reasonably straightforward. And outside of the design challenges of the actual shape of the product and what have you, I'd say probably the biggest challenge was this need for the Duke of Richmond to reminisce over the glow that he experienced, particularly in the ballroom as a child, and trying to sort of be able to mimic that while also creating this wonderful even spread of light on the canvas. And the way that we overcame that was to use this Bluetooth technology, which enabled us to set each artwork individually, each artwork needing a different level of light. So what was the outcome for the Duke and for the visitors coming to their house? What was the sort of, how's the house represented now?
Well, I think the main thing is that there's a wonderful even lighting over all the pictures, and some pictures that were never lit have been lit, and every room you go into there's a very, very clear, precise lighting scheme. And most of the light in our staterooms here comes from the picture lights.
In terms of the sort of visitor experience, when people are walking around, do you think they're able to engage with the collection more? Or?
I think what they can see is the full picture. So whereas before you might have had the head lit and the base in darkness, now there's a much more even spread.
And particularly on the larger canvases.
On the big full length, it's made a big difference. So Andrew, tell us a little bit about the product that you ended up using here.
So the product now called the TM Goodwood Picture Light was designed as sort of a ground-up approach. We decided that how would you best light an artwork? We used some of the technology that we researched over many years and built that into a housing to help sculpt the light to light even these really tall canvases. A couple of the things that we really wanted to get right was to use a technology that wasn't going to damage the artwork, so something that was a bit conservation friendly, no UV, no infrared, the heat that you were talking about before that was emitted from them. And energy savings, that was one of the key things at the time is, we had these lamps that were being phased out, and LED gave us this long life that was expansive. So really, we were trying to sort of compile that all into one neat package that hopefully you can see here today. So one of the main benefits of LED lighting is the long bulb life or lamp life. And as such, it means that we don't need to change the bulbs every 5 minutes. At Goodwood House, with the old incandescent bulbs, they were changing 7 bulbs every single week. So that meant that it was a 2-hour maintenance schedule, and the electricians had to go all the way around the house to get the bulbs. But also, in some locations, there were picture lights in unusual locations, so above stairs, for example. As you can imagine, above a stair means erecting scaffolding, a lot of time to do that, and in this particular location it was on the private side of the house, so interruption obviously to the Duke was to be kept to an absolute minimum. So they could do this only once a year, so often some of the bulbs would be out for many weeks on end.
So in the ballroom at Goodwood House, we've used Bluetooth technology, and the reason why we've used Bluetooth technology is to individually address each of the paintings within the room. This allows us to set the light levels specific to each canvas, to each artwork. And so, for instance, in this portrait of the children of Charles I, we can see that the faces are quite light, and so we've adjusted the brightness accordingly. So with the Bluetooth technology, we can turn the light on and off and dim it according to the brightness of the artwork, so we can bring it to a level that suits the room. And then with that in mind, we can then set the light level across all the artworks in the room to balance the room. So darker artworks can absorb a little bit more light, so it can be a little bit brighter, and lighter artworks such as this can be dimmed down a little bit. Of course, all keeping within conservation levels and keeping within the 180 lux on the canvas.